Let's see what these bans are going to be, as it just feels way more epic. This, like, the intro to the draft music, I feel just...
It's very dramatic.
I don't know. I feel like everything is emphasized to a point where we can't just meme our way into draft anymore.
No,
It really kicks us into gear.
It sets the tone, you know.
Does.
Maybe it was specifically done for us.
Maybe that's what it is. I feel like, I mean, Ji-sun could have sent an email.
Yeah.
You know?
Would you have read it?
Probably not. M.B.E.S.S.A. going to be the first ban here. Of course, Morgan actually playing some fantastic M.B.E.S.S.A. Dating back to the Kesper Cup, where she made her debut. The global debut in competitive was Maple on M.B.E.S.S.A. in the mid lane in his last tournament, which is pretty cool. Anyway, Kalista going to be also banned away. Nothing too surprising just yet.
Interestingly enough, Kalista was obviously very strong when lane swaps were a thing. If you take away lane swaps, Kalista does enjoy that.
Yes.
So still pretty high priority. Interestingly, we haven't seen a look in at the Gwen or the Neferi yet. We saw Gwen kind of taken over a little bit in the hands of Rich yesterday. So especially with Brion on red side, do you trade? Or is there one you're more focused on banning? Or do you ban both from here? They ban Rumble. So the thing is, Gwen's win rate in the LPL has been about 50%. A lot of her losses have been against Rumble, specifically. It makes sense, you know, the matchup, like, he just goes into your Shroud and just kind of cooks you. But with that ban, it puts more emphasis on this Gwen pick. So be interested to see if Nongshim do opt to first pick it. Do they ban Neferi here, but then Brion might ban Gwen? That's the decision I feel like they're kind of put in right now.
I think, like, you ban something like a Rel, you know, you sort of throw it away and then you sort of force, or a Renata. I think Renata is fine as well. And then you force them to ban Gwen so you can first pick Neferi if you'd like it. I think that was the call here for Nongshim. Otherwise, the bro's going to have a bit of a gamble here, where they say, like, we get the dog or we get the Scissors Lady. It's one of the two.
It's really difficult because obviously, you know, King also had a phenomenal Rumble during the LCK Cup, so I understand that banning hit from him. But if both are left open, I think Nongshim probably will just take the Gwen, I think, for Kingen be really important. They ban the Varus away. We'll see what the choice is. It could go either way. Both are really powerful picks. If Brion get their hands on the Gwen, they ban away that Rumble. But no, Nongshim do pick that up for Kingen. I think it's the right choice. I think Kingen has been such a star for this team. And now I'm wondering, what is Morgan going to take it into this? And I'm absolutely thinking that Brion needs to secure that Neferi right now. You don't want to give both of those over to the side of Nongshim.
Yep. They could secure it in the second pick as well, but they need to make sure that they collect it this time around. The Jace going to be locked away first. That's likely what Morgan's going to be taking into this, and it's Vi instead. Wow. My God. Okay, so how do you feel about Neferi Ahri as a mid-jungle? Yeah,
I mean, I think Neferi pickup definitely good. Denying the Ahri from Vi. We've seen the Bruiser Ahri build come in and be quite popular. We saw Vi Ahri win against Neferi yesterday in the hands of Gen G. And obviously pinning down Neferi is pretty powerful. So you just have that on-target ability, which can make it difficult to connect, but we'll see. Actually going for the Sejuani, so not opting into that, but going this really powerful solo lane duo. So seeing Neferi pass through, presence has been super high in the LPL, but maybe LCK not as keen on it. But I think this solo lane combo with Sejuani, and Gideon, I feel like one of his best picks in the LCK Cup was that Sejuani. This is already terrifying for the side of Brion here. Definitely need some channel point supports. If you haven't paid your bro tax, get it in right now.
We're going to need it, like, immediately. I don't see very much purple in that chat right now, so I'm going to need you guys to do so. The Shen banned away from Lehens here. I actually feel like Shen would have fit really well into this composition as well, because they have so much mobility, but they are very short range. Shen really complements that with his Shadow Dash, and it's Lehens. Obviously, he's been playing a lot of it in scrims at the same time. We know he likes to cook, so taking that one away. The Ashe also removed here, as the AD carry pool will get thinned out, I imagine.
So something that's important to mention is, even though I love the team fighting power and the scaling from Nongshim's composition, right now Brion is going to have prio in their solo lanes, and they have the potential to counterpick in the bot lane as well. So we saw a scenario yesterday where HLE against Gen G, it was a draft where the team fights were favored towards HLE, but they just never really got there. So if Brion are leaning into this, having prio, winning early, they're in prime position to set up for that in the end of this draft.
Well, I'm predicting that it's going to be a first pick Leona here from Hype, as the Poppy is going to be removed as well. Just given the fact that they focus so heavily on Lehens and not actually banned away one of the champions that he has been most comfortable on. We'll see what they do actually decide to do. It's going to be MF instead.
Yeah, I think with like Kalista, Varus, Ashgon, in terms of those priority carries, she's really up there. This, again, like, do I think MF is great into what Nongshim have? Not really. It's very hard to reliably hit these targets with the ult. But again, it's about the prio. This is a win lane, win game composition from Brion. They have counter pick for support. Nongshim goes the Ezreal.
I mean, Ezreal Leona kind of feels like what they would do, just given the fact that Leona is so good into MF just in general, but instead it's the Elise. Lehen's just showing them that, yeah, there were 2 champions that he played exclusively in solo queue before he joined Griffin, and the other one was Elise.
Yeah, I think the Leona, really good into MF for cancelling the ult, but again, the ult value here from Hype, not that high, because it's very hard for anyone on Nongshim to kind of be locked into the ult. They go for the Elise, for that early power, syncs well the Sejuani because you can stack up the passive and spider from quickly, but also a bit more lane pressure. And now with the Rakan coming in from Polu, I feel like this is a much more playable lane for the side of Nongshim. That being said, MF Rakan still is going to have more pressure in those early levels because especially the sustain from the Rakan Q and the poke from the MF. But, you know, I think Nongshim, I like their draft a lot, but the laning phase is really what they have to endure. If they get through a lane, I think they're in a very comfortable spot. And bro, they need to just clamp down on Nongshim, not let them to function. From minute 1, you need to be finding an advantage. And again, we saw Gen G do that fantastically, but Gen G are a very strong team.
They are.
And very good at that style of play of incrementally building up advantages and not letting them slip.
It did also feel like Gen G were taking advantage of an HLE that were having a bit of a hangover after their first stand victory. It seems to be tradition now that HLE just come into the LCK and lose horrendously to Gen G before ramping back up again.
Yeah, and in fairness, when we talk about regular season Gen G, I think it's a tradition for everyone to lose.
Yes,
as we saw last year.
Yeah, it's sort of just how it goes. But as the music is getting more and more epic, we are going to get in there. I do love the fact that we get the skins now in the AR. Valdez mentioned this yesterday, and it is very, very cool.
Yep, we saw Lehens with the new, the Noxus-themed Elise skin.
Yeah. Reminding me of what the space used to look like prior to this season. But now it is time to get under the rift for Game 1. Oh man, okay, Nongshim getting to work already as Polu getting a little bit, okay, just wanders into the cocoon. He will be able to go back home, but will be forced to do a little bit of backing.
Yeah, I mean, really powerful invading with the Elise. You can start E, and then you can actually repel to a target and then stun and potentially force that flash. So they go for a very aggressive invade on the top side, scouting out vision. And unfortunately, finding Polu not exactly the target you have the most kill pressure on, but, you know, job's done. And then they'll path down towards bot side. You can see the other side, bro got some vision in the Nongshim red side jungle.
Yeah, able to just capitalize on the fact that everyone was on the top side of the map. Nongshim's trap not going to get sprung too early here by the bros, as they will just head down, and it will be at least a few minutes of an actual laning phase before we get a bit of a do-si-do. And we'll see, we didn't see too much of it yesterday as far as some clever lane swapping after the lane swap protection has been removed. We'll see whether that does happen here today. As Hype with some double up damage onto Jiwoo. Going to be starting this one off.
And honestly, a lot of matchups into Rakan are kind of based around whether you dodge his Q. It's kind of similar to playing as Soraka, where she hits your Q and it's like, okay, she now gets a ton of healing. If you're able to dodge and deny that healing, you can trade so much better. Right now, Lehens doesn't really offer too much. Kind of needs level 2. Level 3 is great. That's where really you can start to put some pressure down. You can see Q misses from Polu there as he takes a Mystic shot. So he's getting chunked out quite heavily already.
Yeah. You can see actually, of course, like Rakan, not necessarily known for his laning, but still going to be helping out because MF certainly is.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, if we get to like level 2, level 3, and Polu's low, that's where you can start to find a lot of pressure with this combo from Nongshim here.
Ooh, Lehens.
Bold.
That was interesting.
Repel there, looking for an angle. But yeah, I think this is the difference between having like an Elise and having something like a Leona, where that level 1 you'd be much more on the back foot compared to where we saw those heavy trades. But You can see in the mid lane, Fisher not having a fun time, to no surprise. Closer had some fantastic Aurora performances in the LCK Cup. And top, Kingen's holding up okay in the HP department, but again, this is the triple prio lane.
Ow!
That was dangerously close. This is the triple prio lanes the pro have gone for, and I'm just looking to see what they can make out of it.
Well, Lehens is looking for an angle here as he flashes. I'm not sure about that one. There's the Battle Dance hype already down to 200 though as Lehens dives forward. Gee, one more auto and there it is. First blood over to Nongshim. And it is raining noodles here in this bottom lane even though the other lanes are on fire.
Elimnar are going to challenge Gideon for that Scuttle Crab with the Prio. I think Gideon just has to walk away. A very aggressive play from Lehens. Kind of just banking on the fact that you have Ignite and you have a lot of base damage. And this is also one of the issues with Rakan is that when you're playing defensively and people are committing flashes, your W can't do much because it's so telegraphed. Lehens splashes over it. Yes, the Cocoon misses, but Hyper cleanse anyway. He does end up cleansing the Ignite damage, but the Grievous Wounds still lowers the heal from Polu. And in the end, the base damage between level 3 Ezreal, level 3 Elise is enough just to brute force through that MF health bar.
Yeah, and immediately you've got Nongshim moving towards this top side of the map. The answering swap isn't quite there yet from Bro. They should be able to get this lane shoved up. And Kingen yet to teleport. And so he'll be able to use that one to head down towards the bottom lane.
I mean, that's the thing. You ban hype summoners, you get an advantage for your bot lane, you swap them top, so now you're hoping to put Kingen in a better situation. You know, we talked about the top lane. Oh, no. That's so big, actually. And it's just things like this that are really going to break apart Bro's sort of lane priority they've been playing for. You know, you start to lose the ability to keep Kingen down, and this game is going to snowball out of control in the wrong direction.
Yep, this is the problem. Can't utilize those lanes if you don't have champions in them anymore. And it's just trying to follow the lane matchups instead. You can see already Kingen towards that bottom side has teleported down there. Morgan does at least have teleport, but doesn't actually opt into using it, as Kingen also didn't need to use his. So we'll be able to just pick up these minions. You can see already things evened out between the Gwen and the Jace. And it's only the mid lane matchup, really, that's going Bro's way. Outside of that, Nongshim with a whole lot of control. And this is understandable, given, you know, the early stage of the game and the range advantage that you will have as an Aurora.
Yeah, Closer's the only one where the lane is really going how you want it to go. But even then, like, into a Yone, eventually he's just not really going to care about it. You know, right now it's a 200 gold deficit, 250 gold. We'll see how this recall comes out from Closer. He now has a lost chapter, so potential to really amp up the pressure on Fisher. But yeah, unless you're really getting this Yone out the game, might not be enough. Now, we do see them setting up for these grubs, and Closer does have ult advantage over Fisher. And Fisher's very close, though.
Look at where Lehens is.
That was
He's going to walk over vision. So it was, you know, in case there was anything that they could do.
I think
first grub going to go over to Bro, though.
Yeah, I think ultimately here, if Gideon steals a grub, you're happy. If he just gets one, great. If not, not the end of the world. I think not fighting it is the right call, given how Fisher just hit level 6 now, and Closer has him trapped in lane, had it for a while.
And they have to sack a full lane wave for it as well.
Yeah, ultimately Bro got all 3. Great for them. I think Nongshim made the right decision about not contesting that. I think that was the right call in that situation. And Gideon looking to move towards the bot side. If they find a gank onto Morgan here, that could potentially free up them to go for this dragon.
Yeah, Ellen hitting level 6 here as Morgan in trouble to the skies. Does have flash available, is going to have to use it. And is not going to die just yet, but still a lot of pressure being put on. Needlework was invested, of course, by Kingen.
I mean, get the flash good, and especially if you end up in a longer...
Oh dear, there's the Cocoon, and Polu is just dead. As the auto attack, the Ignite was already ticking, and that's the second kill here for Nongshim's bottom lane.
Just the burst potential of this combo is so threatening, and, you know, if you had something like a Leona and Alistair, you'd be able to survive that burst, but Rakan is just so much squishier in comparison. Just gets completely exploded.
Man. All right, support. Okay, so this is a bit weird, right? Because the LCK Cup just happened and we had a whole bunch of Elise support. But this is the last time it was played in the LCK, and it was Lehens, of course, because Lehens has been playing Elise support for the last, you know, approaching how many years? 7, 8 years, something like that.
Quite a while.
Yeah, quite some time.
Always want the eclectic picks.
Indeed.
Haven't seen the Singed in a while, but definitely would be willing to pull it out if anyone dared to pick Yuumi against him.
And we do have, you know, Fearless for the rest of the year. So the likelihood of Singed support gets higher and higher, which is absolutely fantastic. Once again, we do have Polo in the mid lane. Q now set up there as well. 77 to 72 as far as the CS is concerned, but these 2 kills on the Ezreal are the biggest deal. Not really spelling too much when it comes to advantages, as speaking of which, King trying to grab one here. Just going to get booped away by Morgan's hammer. There's the flash, though, as Gideon follows up. And that is going to be some feats of warfare here for Nongshim as they grab their 3rd kill.
Oh, man, and the fact Gwen gets the kill, the Gwen who managed to sort of even out that earlier matchup, now ahead. So scary to play into for the side of Bro. You know King is going to be a problem in this game. And it's just great gang setup from Gideon. You know, the first gang to get the flash ends up coming in now with his ultimate available, knows Morgan has no way of avoiding that Glacial Prison, and it's just easy as that.
Yep, even more minions going to the wayside here as well on the top side of the map as we have a look at this one more time. Morgan does manage to dodge the snips.
Yeah.
And boops King away, but Gideon's here. Beautiful flash ult.
You can see with the vision and the fact his jungler is nearby, it's like, look, I can push this wave in, I can get away. Gwen doesn't have ult available, but Gideon just ends up being there at the perfect time to punish.
Yep, and once again, Kingin, now with ultimate available, still has flash. This Gwen is still just as dangerous as she was prior to Morgan falling down, and now Morgan, without his flash, still is kind of a sitting duck, as you can see in that top side. Kingin with a whole lot of control as the Bros down towards this bottom side, putting some pressure around the Dragon. Lehens and Jiu sort of joined at the hip so far this game, just moving into different lanes, getting all the priority that they would like. And what went from Bro having so much priority and control is now Nongshim just moving Jiu around like a portable cannon to just destroy whatever they would like to find. Gideon going to move over here, and it looks like LM going to need to exit unless Lehens finds himself in an odd spot. He does go up into the sky, but what goes up must come down, and Itsy Bitsy Spider is well and truly crushed.
Yeah, bit of a misstep there from the side of Nongshim. It would have been enough just to kind of force LM away from the Dragon. But again, this mid prior really been a difference maker. Closer being able to move first. And like a single Dragon isn't a game changer for Bro. I think really Nongshim are in a position where they just need to kind of slow the game down and mitigate what Bro are trying to do. Felt a little bit rushed, and they do end up paying for it, given a kill over the hype, and that Dragon does go over regardless.
Yeah, really nicely done there by the Bros. I actually thought that Nongshim had an angle, and I think that Lehens did too. It's just that unfortunately the rest of the team weren't quite on the same page, and it resulted in a Dragon going over to Bro plus that answering kill. Still, these grubs gonna head over towards Nongshim. That is 3 apiece. And all right, another Glacial Prison flying out here as Polo gonna have to try and battle dance his way out. Does flash as Lehens looks for it, finds the last auto there in human form. That's gonna pick up the 4th here for Nongshim. Lehens straight back on the horse.
And the fact we see Bro, they get a pick on Lehens, they get a Dragon, but now we see Nongshim get 3 grubs and a pick in return, so it just balances out, and that's just gonna favor Nongshim in the long term. Limp trying to clear his Krugs here. Nongshim, I'm going to force him off. They aren't going to overstay. But yeah, just more and more going in their favor. And now you look like Jiwoo's just picked up the Triforce. Power Spike's going to start coming in.
Yeah, Blade of the Ruin King should be relatively close here for Fisher. We do have Ludens now complete for Closer, though, and he does have a few more minions in comparison to this Yone. The one sort of saving grace here for Bro, and Closer has been the guy for this team.
I just think
he continues to do so.
It's really hard here because of all the 80 carries to play Aurora into, as feels like he's always been one of the better ones at being able to disengage from you, get away from your ult. Obviously, you're not... Other 80 carries aren't locked into it anymore, but being able to Arcane Shift out, definitely advantageous. And when you look at the rest of the targets, like, who are you really going to be able to pick off here? Yeah, oh, this is bad.
You might be able to pick off Morgan if you're Nongshim. And that's what they're going to do as the Permafrost comes in, and there was nowhere for him to go. Decides not to use the flash, and I do not blame him. As Nongshim also able to defend this outer turret towards the bottom lane, or can they? As Cocoon is going to connect! A lot of damage there from Closer in return, but Lehens just goes up into the sky. That is going to keep him alive. In the meantime, we have a bullet time, I believe, being used to soften up Jiu, but that does mean now that Hype might be susceptible to some of these Mystic shots. No, just going to be a trade of blows.
Kind of hard. We did see Gio actually having the burn his flash there, I think, to get out of that. And you have to be a bit careful playing into this Bloodthirst to MF because Jiwoo's low, but Hype's health bar, he's just going to regenerate as soon as a wave comes up. So Nongshim losing some pressure mid, but on the map, they're winning. And that's the more important thing. Jiwoo's still able to clear the wave from a distance. Should drop a plate here, but not that big of a deal.
I also think that Jiwoo is kind of a passenger this game. I think that's sort of his job. You've got Gwen, you've got Yone. They're going to be the big damage dealers for Nongshim. And Jiwoo's just going to have to self-heal and try to do whatever consistent damage he can in a lot of these fights. I don't think he's necessarily the main character. And getting King in ahead, really, really important here for Nongshim today. And you can see that they have done just that. As Morgan is at least keeping up in farm, but 0-2 does still spell that 700 gold advantage here for the Gwen. And Gwen is on a ban list a lot of times for a reason.
And I think it's now getting to the point where this Gwen is so strong, if you end up in a longer lane, I mean, even now, you can see how defensive Morgan's having to play it.
Yeah.
But once those turrets start going down and you're in a long lane against this Gwen, you're just going to get run down. It's so scary.
Lehens just seems to know exactly where to be. As Ellen is just going to fall straight into the cocoon. So much damage from the Elise. And Lehens is able to pick up that kill with the last tick of the Ignite. Gorgeously done, and he just read him like a book.
The fact they get his flash and neither Gideon or Lehens has to flash over to finish it is massive. They force Morgan away from the tower. Lehens has been so impactful this game, and Fisher's kind of just been playing defensive on the spot side, but
that was a great ultimate as well. Managed to clear out the entire wave in the meantime, whilst also having a decent trade.
I think that's honestly the thing that I'm most impressed about Nongshim in this game, because the proactive plays have been great, but it's the fact that whenever Bro try and make a counterplay, they do so much to mitigate it. You know, we saw earlier Lehens coming down bot to cover Fisher. You know, they made the play to the top side with a TP, but he was there to protect Fisher. Here, Fisher makes a great solo play to defend, and it's so frustrating for a team to make a play, because your immediate reaction is, well, we'll make a play on the other side of the map, and then it gets shut down.
Yeah, I think understanding the push and pull of just how the map kind of works is kind of beautiful here, watching Nongshim as they navigate it. And right now, all of their ducks well and truly in a row. It has spelt about a 2.2k gold lead, and Fisher is going to clear out this wave once again. Dragon going to spawn. It's going to be a Chemtech. Not going to be a Chemtech Soul. See whether we get another Cloud, which would be like the third, pushing it over as far as the amount of souls, like over 50%. Cloud Soul so far for this season. That would be absolutely absurd.
Be a good start to it.
It would be beautiful. As Lehens not going to find the cocoon as Hype taking a lot of damage here. Gideon super tanky, but still has to Arctically Assault away. The Dragon continuing to take some damage, but does reset. And the Bro is going to move back and pick that one up one more time. Morgan, no teleport available. Kingin, he has his. If that trigger's pulled, Bro going to have to try and get themselves out of there as Fisher doesn't have ulti, but still looking for an opportunity. A cease and desist. They dive on top of Jiu. The Ezreal lasts for quite a while. Both AD carries going to go down, though. And Nongshim now on the warpath. Kingin, he is somewhat immune as he's pulling that circle around, but I don't think he's going to survive for too much longer as Polu dashes out of there. The AoE damage is gigantic, though, on closer. Can't get in there to do it. Nongshim, they take down the jungler, the top laner, and they should be able to also get themselves a dragon.
Jiu is just a bait. So many tools committed to take out this Ezreal, and the top side of this Nongshim composition so strong in those close-up skirmishes. We see them go for the play on Jiu, but that's Rakan ult, that's Aurora ult, that's Vi ult, all onto this one person, and Hype ends up in a rough position. So you're trading 1-for-1, but all those tools are down, and then in this ensuing fight, they go for Kingin when the Shroud is down, but you're playing into a Gwen, Yone, with a Sejuani. There's just no way you're winning when you get in melee range.
Yep, and they thought that they'd caught him out, but then Fisher finds the third Q, knocks two of them up, and then they just get wiped out. Nongshim further adding to their coffers. As we can see, 3,000 now the lead. It is going to be Hextech Soul. So, yeah, even I'm okay with it being a Hextech Soul this time around. That's certainly an exciting one, but if Nongshim managed to pick that one up, this game is all but over. That is an Ezreal Gwen Yone with Hextech Soul.
The thing is...
Oh, no, Morgan. We've seen this one before. This time he's going to elect to flash. Does have the phase rush there as well, so that is going to get him out of there. But that is just a needlework invested.
Yes, and Lehens, well...
is a jungler, I guess.
He... He could be, you know, in another life.
Well, there's 4 people coming down here from Bro, but I just don't know whether they're going to get here in time. There's a Permafrost, and he's dead. And now the rest of the Bros will turn up saying, Morgan, you just needed to wait a couple of seconds.
What? Nongshim just have 2 junglers now, apparently. You know,
as it turns out.
You would assume if they're taking Riptile on the top side that, you know, they need their jungler there.
Oh, Lahen's doing what he does best, which is driving Shelly. And they're going to take an inner turret at the same time. This game is very quickly getting out of control.
Yeah, completely. It's really falling apart for Bro. I think that dragon fight was really the nail in the coffin, because if they were able to navigate that, if they were able to get a second dragon, the Hextech solos that win con, you know, you maybe look for picks and you're able to secure that can be your way back in the game. But now it's a dragon apiece, and there's this massive gold lead for Nongshim. I don't see a way back into this unless Nongshim makes some massive mistakes. If we're being real with it, it's now really their game to lose. And this duo of Gideon and Lahen's charging around, so dangerous to play against. And just the fact that you have that melee spider form from Elise and you can very quickly stack it.
Yeah, you've got an attack speed steroid as well, like on your W, so means that you can really get that Permafrost stacked up, as Morgan is going to do what he's been doing really well in this game so far, as that Cocoon was way better than all the other ones Lahen's thrown out so far this game. Absolutely beautifully done. And yeah, Nongshim feels like they can do no wrong, and I got the cope for you. I've got it for all of you Giga Chad fans. Look at all of the picks that Nongshim have invested in this game, right? They don't get Gwen. They don't get Gideon Sejuani. They don't get Fisher's Yone. They don't get Lahen's on his Elise ever again in this series.
Yeah, you know, I have to be real. That is my favorite Fearless cope.
Isn't it?
It's so good. It's so good.
I think it's barely even an argument.
You know what? It's like when you're in a game, when you're playing like, you know, you're playing a normal with the boys, and you're like 17k gold down at 12 minutes, and you're like, don't worry guys, we outscale. The enemy team has like Kassadin, but it's just you gotta say something.
Yeah, but you've got Viger support, you know, so you're scaling, man.
It's like, it's what you say when a game like this finishes. It's like, oh, these fools have fallen for our trap of winning game 1 with good picks.
Lahen's actually caught out this time around. He does get on top of this wall. That was very cute. Still, Closer is going to blow him up. You don't have a lot of health as this Dash Cannon Elise.
Yeah, definitely on the squishier side. You know, we saw a bit of isolated play from Lahen's, securing the Herald by himself, maybe a little bit overconfident.
And but as we go for that play before, and you fool me once, shame on me.
But as we know from your favorite player, Beryl, part of playing Elise is dying.
Yes.
In weird positions.
And honestly, Lahen's has not died nearly enough to be doing it properly. Yeah. And he's the one that invented how to play Elise. I'm not even going to say that it's Beryl that came up with the tactics. It's Lahen's that really was the maestro of that one.
Beryl just optimized deaths per minute on the
Yes, he did. He saw the blueprint that was drawn up by Lahen's, and he really ran with it.
Yeah.
All the way down. Lahen's is going to do it again. Kingan's going to move over, but I don't know whether he's going to be helping out. He goes up, but then he does immediately go down, and Kingan may have actually just bought into it. He goes down at the same time. And when you have an extra one paying for the sins of your support, could mean that Bro might find an angle back in. Still a bit of an uphill battle, but that is exactly the kind of moves they need to be making. Yeah,
it's good picks. It's a big shutdown. They should be able to get Dragon off this. So really nice from Bro keeping this game alive. Some fumbles from Nongshim. I think Lahen's heard us talking about the barrel strategy.
And he's like, oh, you think that he died a lot of times? Hold my beer.
I can step it up.
Indeed. And he started 2-3-4. Still needs to get to 9, I believe, which is the number that Beryl had when he won that game. Morgan looking for an inner turret. That is going to really help even out this gold. Voracious Otacon is just going to go down, though.
Yeah.
There's some extra lives now available for Nongshim, but in trade for a Hextech Dragon?
The thing is, the second Hextech Dragon, if this was the third Dragon, I think it's a lot more meaningful. But even so, we have to wonder, what will Nongshim be able to do with this Otacon? Because Dragon has just gone down. If we actually look at the buff timer, Baron spawns 30 seconds after the buff ends. So, you know, we kind of thinking back to original Voracious Otacon when teams were just like diving with it and hard forcing. But if you flub the dive, you're giving a lot of gold over still, right? And you're not back on the map as quick. So I think Bro are pretty happy with this trade, and the gold lead is closed massively. You know, I still favor Nongshim's comp in the late game, but those mistakes I said Nongshim needed to make have come through.
Yeah.
And Bro are keeping this one a little bit closer.
Well, let's see what they're going to be able to do. As you know, we mentioned that Closer is kind of the guy for this team. 2-0-2, Rabbidan's death cap is now completed.
That's an early death cap.
Yeah, that is a really early death cap. And it looks like he's going Shadow Flame as well. Like, that is going to be so much raw damage for this Aurora. If anyone's squishy, they are just going to die. And you can see Kingen, he's pretty squishy. Glacial Prison flying in here as they're ignoring the turret. Fisher looking for Polo. They will be able to take him down. The bottom lane just eliminated as Kingen trying to keep the rest of them busy. Remember, he can just go back to base, and he is going to be able to do so there. And could even teleport back if they wanted even more. But it looks like this outer turret in the mid lane is what they're going for now. And Nongshim, I think that's pretty good use of this Arakan buff.
Show you what they wanted, you know, didn't have to get that many kills, just 2, but forced them away, forced a lot of cooldowns out of Close, importantly. This damage is kind of absurd, you know. I feel like in terms of tankiness, Kingen is actually up there for this Nongshim lineup, and even he kind of got nuked by Closer.
Oh, yeah.
But some good moves. Closer tries to find a good angle here on the counterplay. Doesn't manage to finish them up, but, you know, you look at how low in HP Lim is, and oh, Fisher.
Yeah, I think Fisher may be dead here as he looks to try and get on top of Closer. Does do a fair bit of damage before he does just get sent back home. And he can overextend just a little bit. The problem is it's just kind of free money going over to Bro without Fisher being able to pick up too much more, as these Merkwolves are going to run back to their home without their two-headed mother. That is going to be the Drake being pinged out, but that is still not going to be up for another 2.5 minutes. And the Baron is up in 30 seconds time. A dangerous one to go for immediately, but still something that we need to mention. His top side of the map is possibly a place where things can be rushed. Because Nongshim, they have a lot of damage to these neutrals, mainly because Lehens does a fair bit of damage to neutral objectives as well.
He absolutely does, but we've seen this great vision setup come out from Bro, so they have good vision on Baron. They got that early, they got it set up, Nongshim didn't clear it out, and actually if you look at the positioning of Gideon and Lehens, they're really far ahead of the vision, so Bro don't need to face check this. You know, they know whether the Baron's being taken, and they kind of just give space, but they're looking now. Yeah,
Lehens gets into spider form, but immediately the Glacial Prison follow-up is going to be there. Elam gets himself out. Closer misses a few buttons, and now Kingen looking for an angle. The Needlewalk flies in. He's taking a lot of turret damage, though, and he just gets blown up. I'm not sure about that one from Kingen. As Fisher tests the waters there momentarily, they get a Bramble back in trade for their top laner.
And I feel like Nongshim just over-forcing a bit in this situation. They're, like, trying to bait Bro in, like, they need a face check Baron, they need to come and contest us, but they don't. That vision setup they had before meant that Bro were really confident of playing it slow.
But that's 2 turrets that they're going to get for this as well. As the inner does fall down at the same time. They think that they've caught Lehens, but Gideon in the area. And the Yone taking a Hex Gate over, but Gideon running the wrong direction. This is so awkward. Still, Morgan's going to fall down. Jiu going to be turning up, and Hype takes so much damage. Jiu, can you do it? He does. He flashes forward. Arcane Shift going to be up very, very soon, and that is a beautiful cue there. The Vault Breaker from Elam just to destroy Lehens.
Oh, the TP from Close
to get out. I think they've lined him up, though, as Jiu finding more and more of these Mystic Shots. Kingen teleported in. It isn't going to be able to get too much more, and Nongshim almost killing the jungler. I think if they had have taken down Elam, there might have been an opportunity to Baron, and instead there's an opportunity to Baron, because sometimes you just do it.
Yeah, they're very fast to taking this. There is the Hex Gates. I'm not sure you can get there in time, though. It's already at 5k. I think this is just gone.
Yeah, they've got so much damage. It is absolutely absurd. True Shot Barrage flying in there, and there's the knock-up. That is going to be some great defense played by Fisher. And let's have a look at this one more time.
Yeah, so an overstep, you see the Cocoon from Lehens pretty critical of denying Elam the CC combo onto the Elise. So he has to kind of move away. Kingen comes in here. I think Polo does a fantastic job of just locking up this Gwen and not letting Kingen play the game. But it gets kind of goofy from here. Lehens and Gideon are looking for a flank, but they don't really have the timing for it right now. Fisher's a bit distant, Jiu is a bit distant, Gwen is not there. But they end up finding it, this great ult from Fisher, and then Jiu just free hitting, getting the damage down.
And that is some big DPS numbers.
And then Lehens channeling his inner barrel, I think is the only way we can describe that.
Yeah, or just Lehens. Lehens and Barrel, very similar in their willfulness to die.
Yeah.
And it worked out because now Jiu is absolutely massive, still with a 3,000 gold lead, and they have a Baron for the next little while. Red Bull Baron power play now in full effect to the tune of about 1,000 right now. Evening out the Drakes as well as they pick up a Hextech Dragon. And so Nongshim back in the driver's seat is kind of what I'd say for now.
You know, I feel like sometimes you watch a team like Gen G, very clean, very methodical, you know, really sort of personifies the LCK style, but this is Nongshim get a little bit down and dirty, you know, getting stuck in the bowl of noodles, and just it's getting a bit of everywhere, but it's still a good meal.
No,
right?
Absolutely. And it's only afterwards that you realize getting that red stain out of your white shirt is going to be absolutely impossible. But at the time, you're like, this is just delicious. And that's what we have to focus on here.
Yep.
Because yesterday was such a beautiful dichotomy, right? Because you watched the first series and it was Gen G methodically just dismantling HLE. And in the second series, it was just a mess. And it really is just, it just shows that we do have a breadth of teams here in the LCK. And we don't know quite which ebb Nongshim are going to sit at, although I'm getting a bit of an idea now after a few of these mid-game mistakes that we did see. We know that they have the capability to be a phenomenal team, though, and they displayed that in the LCK Cup playoffs. We'll see whether they can continue to do so in the LCK itself as we get deeper into round one. But they still need to close this game out against Bro. And Bro have already shown that they have the tenacity. The spirit of the Jin Air Green Wings lives on, it feels like, with the Bros. And they would never say die.
They certainly won't. I feel like many a Bro fan have been in this position before, waiting for the comeback. And honestly, Closer, once again, has kind of just been, you know, he's just been standing above it. You know, everything goes to mess. He's just trying his best. And the thing is, it's like in a solo queue game.
How has he not died and he has the greediest build I have ever seen in my life?
I don't know. But it's like in a solo queue game, and it's not even like he's being toxic and saying, you know, I can't carry these teammates. He's that one who's just constantly saying positive things.
Yeah, he's
guys,
just zen.
We can do it.
Yeah.
We can just, you know, play around me, guys. We can carry.
Yeah.
Doesn't once flame the 1 in 6 J's top lane. He's like,
never
you can
would.
do it, bro. You can, you know, you've got the items now. You're vibing.
Thanks for creating space for me, bro.
Absolutely. He's a Noah. He's a Noah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I thought
Lahen's
was going to go in.
Yeah,
I thought
he was straight onto that blast cone. That was what I was expecting. Decides not to.
Beryl would have.
Don't tell that to Lahen's. Next time he's going in.
Yeah.
I feel like we've created this like fake competition between Lahen's and Beryl that they have no idea about, that I want to continue.
It's peak, honestly.
We got Beryl playing in our next series as well. We get the direct comparison between our two Psycho supports.
Yeah. It's just such a vibe, honestly.
I love it. Well, right now there's not a whole lot to fight for. We've got a minute and a half on both of our key objectives. Basically, as the Baron and the Dragon are both going to be coming up, it's going to be soul point for both teams. And we've seen going to be able to grab himself and for the rest of his team as well, the blue buff.
Yeah, and we see Nongshim going for some of these defensive options, right? The Seeker's Arm Guard for Jiwoo, we've seen the Negatron Cloak for Fisher, you know. A little bit insecure, maybe, compared to Closer, who's just like full damage.
Yeah. Closer definitely the Giga Chad build for the Giga Chad team. Does make a whole lot of sense.
I mean, logically, it makes sense to build Seeker's Arm Guard against a Vi, but is it as cool?
It does feel weak, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels a little bit weak. Closer would never.
Highlighting Gideon's big speed lead over Elim, and I feel like this has kind of been part of the course for Gideon. Even on these tank junglers, he's kind of farmed up a Storm and ensured he's had an XP lead. And pretty much throughout the LCK Cup, that was kind of his game plan a lot of the time. And he is, you know, we often see this Sejuani become like the second support later in the game. Whereas this game, Lahen's has become the second jungler. It's gone in the other direction.
Yeah, or Lahen's is a top lane. I don't know. He does a lot of damage as well. And you can see building even more damage. Needs a large rod now in his back pocket, as well as his Oblivion Orb, just to stop some of the healing.
This just brings me back to the Pog State discussion, like the role swap teams. Did we miss out on Lahen's potential?
I mean, honestly, Lahen's was the greatest pick. There's a reason why Wolf was so triggered by the fact that Lahen's was picked away from him, and also went to be completely misused on the other team.
Who
Just
was misusing?
catching strays. Well, we just played the clip as well. I watched the episode last night, and I just wanted to see whether we were justified in how upset we were. We were, 100%.
I don't think we were upset enough.
Yeah, I think that might have been closer to it. You can go and watch the Pog State if you want to have a look at our... We did a bit of a snake draft for role-swapped players from throughout the LCK.
Yeah.
I personally think that I won, although I did mess it up as well.
I had this genius idea of putting Chovy top lane. Never before comprehended or considered.
No one predicted that.
Yeah, that was a very bold move that I think everyone agreed was very astute.
Yeah. No, you just completely out of left field. No one expected you to put Chovy in the top lane. No one ever would. There was a stipulation that if the player had played the role professionally as like a starter for that role, they couldn't actually be put there. So you can't just choose score from 2014 and then put him in the jungle.
Can't just put Platter in AD carry as much as I really wanted.
We all did.
Yeah.
Nongshim are going for a Baron. It is now down to below half health. Lahen's just trying to play some defense, but Ellen looking to try and get on in here. That knock-up not going to connect, but now Jiu offering some damage over. Oh, Ellen, he's not quite tanky enough, but the prison is not going to land. They're still on the Baron. It's going down, and Gideon locks that one up. Nongshim successful disengage. And that was a great little steal. They also got the Dragon prior to that, remember? And so Nongshim just kind of grabbing everything in Bro's lunch money.
Yeah, much cleaner setup from Nongshim here. It appears they've kind of sorted things out, maybe listening to Lahen's a little bit more. A great setup, and I think ultimately you had the poke from Jiu and Lahen's, but then, interestingly enough, it was the poke from Kingin that really forced the Vi away. That needlework coming out from the ult, just doing so much damage. And now, Baron in hand, and really things are starting to look rough once again for Bro. 3 minutes 30 on that soul potentially for Nongshim, but in the meantime, dealing with this Baron, it's going to be hard to really step outside I say it's going to be hard to step outside the base. They're just fully pushing mid, which is, you know, I respect it, but it's a bold
They do have
decision.
a lot of southern vision.
Yeah.
So they can at least move into Fog of War downward.
I think they're forgetting something.
Yeah,
they're like, we pushed mid,
guy.
we pushed bot. Is there another lane we're not thinking about?
Oh, 2 out of 3 is pretty good, though.
I mean, in fairness, it does buy, you know, if they give it the top inhib, if they accept the fact that maybe we're going to lose it anyway, maybe now they'll be able to defend mid and bot. But that top inhibitor went down very quickly. Yeah. And would you believe Nongshim are now looking towards mid?
Kingin really playing some good defense on this wave as well, and so the Bros not going to be able to do anything to stop that one from just crashing, and my god, that tower evaporated. There is so much damage on this spot as they do go for the engage. Ulti from Closer is good damage. Lahen's almost just straight up dead, but Closer also following suit. The needlework flying in, Hype just almost disintegrates without being able to do too much, and these Mystic shots, everyone that lands is so scary. 2 inhibs down. And, oh man, that Shock Blast actually starting to hurt.
What was it?
It's Morgan with 4 items finally.
Despite his build, it just felt like he wasn't doing any damage the targets is connected with. He accidentally hit Lahen's, it feels like, nearly one-shot him, but the bulk of the damage just seemed to not really do much to this front line of Nongshim, and now they're looking for more.
Yeah, Kingin does get engaged on his cease and desist, flies forward, Deficient just executes Hype. Morgan now down to about 100, and this Yone is doing so much work. Gio now getting rid of Polo, and it looks like these Nexus turrets are next to fall. Trishot Barrage doesn't take down the Rakan, but the Nexus is sure to fall. The Noodle Boys come out strong here in game 1.
And you know, that's a little bit goofy at times. Definitely there was a point where you could feel the bro taxes flooding in that allowed the comeback, but
certainly
just not quite enough on the day to get this game 1. But it's a best of 3. It's fearless. I think a point you raised earlier was the fact that Nongshim have a lot of high-budget picks they've taken away in game 1.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the cope we're going for right here. So we won't be able to see Gwen again. We won't be able to see Elise again. We won't be able to see Gideon Sejuani. And obviously, Bro having side selection this game too will be looking to bounce back. But I think Nongshim, kind of what we expected. You know, it's good play.
Yeah.
A little bit of craziness mixed in. I don't think they've really changed since the LCK Cup.
Nope, I don't think so at all. I do think that there is a high chance that Bro are able to make something happen in game number 2. Moving over to the blue side, grabbing that first pick opportunity, there was no Nefiri picked up or banned in the first game, so maybe the priority on that pick is going to go through the roof as we move into the next one. Jiu, as you can see there, lots and lots of damage. But I just want to see what happens in game number 2. Give us some different picks and let the Bros thrive, because I think that we deserve 3 games in this series. Time to go to a short break, then the space. Going to break it down, then we'll have game number 2. We'll see you there.
미포. 아 끝내자. 라인 가져올게.
야 미포 보면 끝날 것 같은데.
얘들아 뭐 라카 노공?
아니 미포가 너 앞에서 포킹 맞아줘야 돼. 너가 하지 마 그거.
오케이. 야 이거 나 큐텍 쌓고.
나도 스택
나도 할 듯?
내가 바이플 있나?
바이프 있어.
그냥 이거 내가 미포 올게.
오로라나 라카 노공.
오케이 미포 먼저.
라야 기다려봐 나 기다려.
기다려줘.
야 미포 살짝 볼게.
보던 가.
그냥 바꿔 주고. 오케이. 보던가. 야 미포.
이거
바이 봐줘.
에이스 다 바꿔.
끝내자.
나이스.
어우. 정신이 없냐 정신이. 아 근데 내가 못했다.
Is when like going 0-2 this week would be devastating, and you've just introduced this new jungler. LM, I don't think it's specifically his fault that game went badly. Obviously, you know, the pathing, there was some question marks on that from what did, but I think fitting him into your team is going to be really important, and you kind of have to hit the ground running. So
yeah, there's only one really glaring thing for LM, and that is he's replacing Humbug. And Humbug had some of the highest highs that Brion had in the LCK Cup and in the Kesper Cup as well. So that's the problem. It's the shoes he's filling. Well, anyway, we are going to see the Rumble and the Corki this time being banned by Bro. The Kalista seems to be a pretty general one. I think another big pick that's kind of fallen by the wayside is the Skarner that wasn't really looked at all, as we had the Sejuani and the Vi snapped up very quickly.
yeah, Neferi as well though. You know,
Yes.
Wolf was talking a little bit about how we saw the Vi work really well into it from Genji, and it seemed like Nongshim didn't want to pick Neferi into Vi, but Vi is gone now. You know, this is Fearless. It's no longer available.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of weight towards it potentially coming out as a priority pick. Skarner is going to get banned. So moving one of those junglers. Some of the picks have been left available that we saw banned away before. Ambessa, Varus, Renata were all banned in the last draft. Now left open and available.
I felt like the Renata and the Varus bans were kind of throwaways just so they could guarantee the Gwen pick. So that seems to be not necessarily something that we need to see banned away or anything like that, not creating big holes in this draft. But this final ban, I imagine the Doggo. No, instead it's going to be Ambessa. So first pick Neferi could be coming on through here for LM if they would like it. See whether they do elect to lock that one down or whether it's going to be something else. Instead, it's going to be that Varus we did see banned away in game 1.
Yep, Nana bopped them for it. I think in terms of AD carries can match it, they saw that the Ashe available was at long range. They can kind of go toe-to-toe to it, so maybe Nongshim lean towards that. And again, you know, we've been talking about the Neferi. We'll see if the priority we think it should have, or that it has been shown in the LPL, is reflected here. We are very early on this patch in the LCK.
Yep.
So still have a lot of time to see things get settled. Orianna coming out, so like an Orianna Nocturne maybe is the theory. We'll see. Definitely not a pick I would have expected to be taken this early in the draft though.
We have seen some Oriannas be pretty successful. I think in the LPL, Orianna has kind of risen in priority in comparison to a few patches ago. Have seen her be relatively successful. Can actually have a lot of laning power as well, and is a decent blind pick as well into the mid lane. But a couple of seconds as Gideon doing a lot of talking, and that is going to be that Nocturne. So the Ori Nocturne combo, well and truly coming out, and LM wastes no time. We're letting the dogs out, and it's going to be the LeBlanc in combination, and closes LeBlanc absolutely fantastic. And this assassination duo is terrifying.
so much kill pressure. So hard to play an Orianna into this. And as much as you can be proactive with Orianna Nocturne, not onto that mid-jungle duo. How are you ever going to connect a Shockwave onto LeBlanc and a Fury unless they misplay? I feel like the advantage is so heavily in favor of the mid-jungle from Brion. And, you know, a big talking point of this roster was the handback closer duo. Yes, you have a different jungler, but I think putting emphasis on this mid-jungle duo is really important. It does mean Hype is potentially going to be in a bit of trouble, though, playing that Varus into this very heavy dive trio that Nongshim have already secured here. And you can see Renata coming out as a ban. They know that Brion needs some solution to try and save the AD carry, and they're going to start hammering away at those.
Yep. Shen still going to be banned away here. I imagine something like a Poppy could be pretty good to remove on the side of Nongshim. That is something that they could pick up for themselves if they would like to. You could even put it onto King in there towards the top side. Something pretty durable would be useful into a lot of the damage that is going to be coming out from this Neferi. And it is going to be Renekton. Taken away instead, of course, a Morgan special, as we know.
That's a nod to him.
Oh, yeah.
You know he'd love to play it.
Not going to be playing it this game.
Yeah. We'll see. You know, I think there's a lot of things that you could pair up with the Kai'Sa. Not really in a position to negate all of them right now. Could just end up targeting something towards Kingen if they're worried about him in the top lane.
All right,
that's going to be denied away from him, making Morgan's time a little bit easier.
Yeah, making sure the King can't just go on to one of those very happy in a side lane type champions. Still a few of them up and available, but the Nautilus is going to be chosen instead.
Yeah.
It's looking really difficult for Hype to stay alive in this game.
It really is. The Old Faithful tried and tested duo of Kai'Sa Nautilus. And I think for Brion, at this point, I'm not sure there's anything that's really going to save Varus. Maybe it's just like, well, let's just try and win when he dies.
Yeah, let's pick more damage for the top lane.
Yeah. Alistar, I think, pretty good. You know, when Nocturne's trying to set up his tether, you can knock him away. Decent matchup into the Nautilus, but still provides that engage in return. And now we have to see what Morgan opts to blind in this situation. Especially going up against Kingen, who has been so much of a threat.
Huh.
Important. The Jax comes out, I think, you know, decent in the fact that it can obviously negate, you know, you're diving into Jax, he has the counter-strike, but King immediately slams the Gangplank. And we saw this matchup be very GP favored during the LCK Cup, and Kingen definitely going to be comfortable here. So now I feel like Nongshim, they have this dive composition. You're gonna see the Varus struggle. Hype's gonna have a bad time. The top lane matchup's bad. It is really about this Neferi LeBlanc duo taking over the game.
Yep.
I need to see Fisher. You know, we saw him behind in game 1. We saw him get pressured out in game 1. That's not enough. I need to see him like 0-3 by 10 minutes. That is the sort of energy I'm looking for from this duo, from Bro here if you want to win this game. Closer needs to pop off, and LM needs to pair up with him and really make that happen.
Yep, and LM needs to park himself in the mid lane, because I think if you just let the lane go, Orianna kind of just controls it and wins. Yes, all-ins can go the way of LeBlanc, but the lane control is going to be so good. Paid bro tax! Oh, thank you so much, Californian fans there in the audience. And even if you are coming all this way, you're still paying the bro tax, and that is the beautiful thing. Paying your taxes even after spending all that money on a plane ticket. Also happening on the Nongshim side of things as another American fan.
That's
joining us here at Lol Park. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Flying all the way here to pay bro tax.
Yeah.
You know, that's those chatters, you know, you could have done that too. So maybe slacking a little bit there.
Hey, unless they just couldn't get a ticket, and so they have to watch on Twitch using a VPN. That is the true dedication.
That is a true
Because sometimes you struggle to get tickets here at Lol Park because, you know, you just can't, not everyone can be there for every bro game.
Too many bro fans.
Speaking of which, we've got a bro game right now. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the ref for game 2. Let's see whether the bros can fight back in this one. As Gideon already discovering LM here. Neferi always reminds me of, did you ever play Akami? It came out on PS2, I think, was then re-released on the Wii.
No.
It was very cool. It was like sort of like Japanese painting style. Game was amazing. It was sort of like a Zelda-esque game. Anyway, that Nefiri skin, even though I know it's like the arena skin, just reminds me a bit of the Okami art style. That one needs to get re-released on Switch too.
I do want to say, I talked about Closer getting a lead. He's already 5 gold up.
Oh my goodness. And Lahan's already hitting the first hook. Duskbringer going to get the flash out of Polu.
So this is actually big because one thing with Kai'Sa is with the death of lane swaps early, I was a little concerned about how Kai'Sa would do because playing like Kai'Sa and Davaris not very fun in the early laning phase. I do think the fact that Bro have an Alistar does mitigate that a little bit, but this should be like favored towards Bro in the bot lane. But now with Polu getting chunked a bit, losing that flash, I think Nongshim feeling a lot more confident in their bot lane 2v2.
Well, Morgan walking towards Kingen and going to hit him. So nicely done there. That's how you're supposed to play the Jax GP matchup. That's what we weren't seeing. It's the walk up and hit them with your Counter-Strike.
Walk strategy, very powerful.
Gorgeous. This is where things can be a little bit interesting. Of course, Alistar level 1, not going to be very powerful at all, but you should have a decent range advantage as the Varus in this lane. So as far as 2v2, should be that Bro should be able to get themselves into a decent position. But level 2 being hit here by Nongshim with that level 1 advantage that they did have should mean that they'll at least be able to have a good time for now.
Yep, and I think honestly, if lane's going good in the bot lane, Nongshim definitely feeling comfortable. Interesting to see what LM looks to do on this Nefiri, and especially as we see Fisher already pushing up mid. Getting a gank angle in there could be super valuable. The chase potential and just the fact you have that mobility allows you to be potent, but Close is having a bit of a rough time so far. Does hit that level 3 though, and now has the full set of abilities, has the setup, and I think Fisher kind of senses, despite the 1v1 lane going well, there could be danger.
Ooh, Chain's going to connect here, as Fisher does have the orb, but Ellen turns up so much damage here that isn't going to hit it.
I think he could have killed there if that second Q had connected.
Yeah.
Does have the execute, does have that burst damage, and then if you just maybe a flash auto after the Q hit, would have had the kill. Unfortunately, doesn't find it, but still, they'll take a flash from an Orianna, and that pressure Fisher had in the lane completely eradicated.
Yep, should just mean that any return gank is going to be a whole lot more successful here from Elim, and Closer should be able to put on a whole bunch more pressure as well. You can see already with a slight gold advantage, but not too much more. Ward going to be walked over here by Elim, but Gideon just going to take down that Rift Scuttler pretty comfortably. And Kingen should have his oranges.
Orange a little bit early.
A bit early, yeah.
Yeah, just he wanted that citrus so badly.
Yeah, that's understandable. Scurvy is dangerous, you know?
It is. So is a Counter-Strike, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently vitamin C not as effective if you use it preemptively. So sometimes cure is better than prevention. That's what I'm learning. I always thought that it was prevention's better than cure, but apparently that's not how it actually works when it comes to Counter-Strikes in a top lane matchup if you're a pirate. Elim is killing some wolves. I believe that's why Jonas Strong is paying a little bit more attention to this particular moment. Because
yeah, just
Elim killing his own kind.
Just a throwdown between two packs, you know?
Yeah. I think we know which pack is going to win. Merkwolves came out at the very beginning of the game, so release date dictates that Nefiri is going to be stronger.
Yeah, and I mean, Nefiri is an interesting one because this champion released, and we just really didn't see it too much in pro play, other than like occasional, you know, we saw Fisher play it in the mid lane, but it kind of felt like this is the sort of champion where...
Owie. Okay, we do have a Nocturne coming down towards his bottom side. Hype immediately flashing to get himself out of the way, but remember, Polu doesn't have his. He had to use his flash at level 1, and that should mean First Blood goes over to Gideon. And I do like that they give the kill to him as well, because Nocturne getting fed is an absolutely terrifying proposition, especially when he's up against this Nefiri, which is so much of the power budget in the Bro draft.
Absolutely, you know, and he's been farming pretty quickly to trying to get towards that level 6. The fact that you're getting a gank off as pre-6 Nocturne is
nutty.
Fantastic. Normally, if we see a Nocturne hit level 6 and then get a successful gank, we're like, okay, the Nocturne's coming together, it's working. But to just kind of wander in pre-6 and make this happen, you can see the desperation from Bro to push this wave in. And this is kind of a mirror of game 1, where the jungler's kind of nearby, like, okay, we can push it in, we can go aggressive, and then they end up paying for it. We saw this exact same thing happen, except it was Morgan on the top side.
Yeah.
And once again, Gideon came in and ganked, and I think this this perceived safety of your jungler being near, but not actually in range to help, has kind of bit them in the butt 2 games in a row.
Well, now you can see Bro trying to figure out an angle towards these grubs. Fisher moving towards the top lane, doesn't have his flash available, but does have a few wards in this area, as we can see. Control ward goes down just to deactivate at least one of them. And Ju and Lehens will get a shove in. And I feel like the lane control, the wave control from Nongshim has been really good so far this series, especially in the early game, just to try and get them into the best positions possible. Gideon comes on over. That should mean that only one grub will go over to Bro this time. Nongshim well and truly in the driver's seat still. Despite the fact that this mid-jungle should be so powerful for Bro, they managed to get the flash that they were supposed to. But you've really got to double down on that one, you know? You've got to make sure that you get the kill, you get the snowball actually rolling. This time, they went to the snowball factory, but they haven't actually decided to pick up their snowball yet.
Yeah, yeah. And ultimately, like, baiting the flash of Fisher does mean he has to play lane more defensively, but if you're not actually capitalizing on it and getting a kill, what was the point?
Yeah.
You know? And obviously they were looking for the kill on the first gank, but were unsuccessful. But I want to see that repeat pressure capitalize, because right now, yes, they got 1 grub from the first trio, so Nongshim don't get the full 3, they don't get the Feat of Strength contribution. But Nongshim have a GP. They have Nocturne Orianna. I don't think they're really bothered about Snowball in this game, and yet they're the ones who feel like they have the advantage in pressure so far early. You're playing this very skirmish-focused jungler, and you're not really skirmishing.
No, and Gideon has now hit level 6, does have access to his Paranoia, and now is when the hula hoop darkness guy is going to start preying on the Bros. See whether they do manage to nail the combo. I remember it was, I believe, First Stand, where we did not really get too much of that being executed perfectly. See how Nongshim does go, as great command protect there from Fisher, and is going to break the chains that bind.
Yeah, I'm just Lehens hovering, just covering his mid lane out in that situation. I will say, we've seen Morgan actually do really well in this matchup. Considering how we saw this GP Jax matchup go, you know, during First Stand and in the LCK Cup, and how effective Kingen has been in general, Morgan's been doing pretty solid here. In fact, wow, okay. He gives over that entire wave we just saw pushed in.
Oh my goodness.
And lets Hype take it.
And he still has a 330 gold advantage regardless.
Such a generous Giga Chat.
I mean, that's why he's the Lord.
He could have easily just eaten up that entire wave, and he would have been so far ahead in Kingen.
Yep.
But he donates.
He does.
His AD carry.
Absolutely beautiful. LM going to poke his head out, as Polo, only level 5, doesn't have access to the ulti, but still they're moving forward. LM bouncing towards this control ward. Should be able to take that one down. He finds a couple of his little spears, but not too much more than that, as the battle for the blue buff continues. Should be Nongshim backing away as Morgan is making his way in. That's a lot of Counter-Strike value as Gideon going to get headbutted over. Does have the Paranoia, puts up the shield, looks to try and get himself out of here, but in goes LM. Oh my goodness, they do manage to take down 2. The mid-jungle just eviscerated from Nongshim's side. And Bro pushing for even more. There goes Lehens, and that's the skirmishing power of this composition.
You know, the headbutt from Paulo looked a little scrappy, but the power, the dive potential, the chase potential of this mid-jungle duo from Bro is so threatening, and Morgan coming in with that perfect flank. I think Nongshim just got a little bit overconfident there. You know, they need to be the ones initiating with the setup, but Morgan has the first line in, and look at this angle from closer as well. They knock Gideon in, but they can't really turn on this Jax because he has that Counter-Strike, and then you know, Kingen does a lot of damage to LM there, but it's not enough to take him down. He gets the reset on his ult as well, just to clear up this kill. And it's just easy pickings.
Beautifully done. And now Nongshim find themselves in a gold deficit. That is going to be Feats of Warfare going over to Bro as well, so a lot picked up for the Bros on the back end of that one. Nongshim, I believe they do have a fair bit of longevity as far as their composition is concerned. You look at Orianna and Gangplank. Very classically good scaling as far as those 2 champions. But Bro, I mean, their ability to snowball with this composition is nothing to be trifled with. They have so much damage and so much pick potential, and as soon as you have those 2 things, if things get out of control, it becomes almost impossible to play. See whether they continue to do that. As the Grubs being targeted once again, It is 2-1 already here in favor of Nongshim. This should be 3 of them going over. So 5 grubs for Nongshim is fantastic, especially when you're denying it from the Jax LeBlanc composition.
Oh.
Ellen not going to be able to steal that one away.
Yep.
Dustbringer.
Is it? And the thing is, by showing up there, I mean, they weren't really in position to take the dragon, but that's the worst case scenario when you just show up to watch someone take an objective, not doing anything else with your time. So Nongshim able to get a bit of a win on that passage of play, but still at a deficit right now in this game. And where the kills are is really the impactful thing. But also, you know, we've seen Morgan now an even bigger lead.
Yeah.
In the top lane, just building it up.
That's only with 3 assists as well, as the kills went to exactly where they needed to go. The Grandmaster's Might coming on in here as Polu is set up. LM also in the area. Lahen's trying to make his way around, but there's the flash out by Polv. Cannon Barrage goes down as LM dives in, calls the Hounds. Polu does have the ulti running, so he's going to be able to keep himself alive. And the minion wave just barely in range to allow LM to escape without losing any health points.
I think it was the dogs, actually, that tanked the tower hits there at the end.
True.
I mean, that's a super powerful thing with dives with this champion, you know. You have a way to go untargetable. You have the dogs as well, which can tank tower hits. So just, it's honestly akin to Elise with how good this champion's dives are, and pretty flawlessly executed by Bro there.
Yep, one of the dogs did take one of the turret shots, so really nicely played. And yeah, otherwise, Polu utilizing the ultimate perfectly, and this Alistar that was punished in the early game after having to blow that early flash, able to really show its worth as we move into more of a skirmishy phase of play, and Bro really going to be happy playing that style with this composition. You can see some big blue numbers now being set up as Bro look to bring us towards a Game 3 in their first series of the LCK for 2025. Fisher just taking some abuse without too much of a hope of answering it.
Yeah, it's a Rod of Ages, Orianna, so quite bulky, quite a good amount of sustain as well. You're not under that much threat from just the LeBlanc trades in that manner. So Fish is okay there. Gideon will pick up the dragon, and it's still an objective lead for Nongshim so far this game, but I'm just very concerned about the gold and where it is on the side of Bro.
Oh yeah. LM, I think realizing that there are a fair few bad guys in the area, and is just going to back away. Gideon going to go back towards his blue buff, and we'll be able to collect that one for himself. And I think Nongshim probably are doing that thing that you were talking about in game number 1, which is, don't worry guys, we scale.
Yeah.
They're going to be saying that quite a lot. And honestly, I don't blame him. I don't think a 1.5k gold lead is going to be enough to deter them if they do have the Orianna Gangplank combo. Not to mention the fact that they have the Nocturne ball delivery system and stuff like that. We haven't seen the combo be utilized just yet.
It's very interesting. We have a scenario where Nocturne's 1-1-0 and just hasn't really done anything with the ultimate. You know, normally he's like either 0-2, ulta failed, or he's like 2-0 and ulta gone well. But feels like, I think with this composition, you know, with how this sort of bot side, the jungle, the mid, the AD carry, the support, work in tandem, the expectation is they are leading the charge. You know, when they want to start a fight, they're initiating. But it definitely feels like maybe it's perhaps because Closer and LM and Polu have been the ones pushing forwards. Neither of those are really good targets, you know, and I think that's maybe why they're a little hesitant.
Well, you can see now was just Kingin trying to control that wave as best he can. There was Lahen's waiting in the wings. And Fisher continuing to take abuse on this Orianna. It doesn't feel like a Fisher champion, the Orianna, necessarily. But Orianna was kind of out of the meta when he did make his debut here in the LCK.
I think Orianna is one of those champions where if you've been around for a while...
Oh yeah, he obviously knows how to play it. I just haven't adjudicated his Orianna
I
before,
get you.
is what I'm saying. But yes, yeah, she's a bit of a staple. Do you remember when Orianna was released and everyone was like, this is the benchmark for a difficult champion to play? I remember that.
I don't think I was playing when Orianna was released.
I was.
I remember when I first played Orianna and I would just spam like QW all the time and just run out of mana. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And I would just like, be firing it all the time.
I remember I played her first and I was like, this passive looks really fun. I'm going to build a Ginsu's. And I did every single game.
Respectable.
Yeah.
Honestly. Why doesn't Fisher do that this game? That's the real question.
I think he should. I mean, Power of Evil showed that Nash's is actually really strong, you know?
Did he?
He built it. He'd show that it is in the shop.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
I can agree with that. He definitely did that.
I like eclectic builds.
Certainly one of the builds of all time.
It was one of the builds of all time. It wasn't quite a Rage Blade, but otherwise it's fine. We're going to have a look at the goal graph here, as we can see. Bro with this lead that they've had for quite some time.
But it has stagnated, and you know what that makes me think?
It's time for a fight. As Lehens is walking, then he's splashing, then he's hooking, but the chains are still going to land. The dogs are well and truly out as the cannon barrage comes down. There's the paranoia. They dive into the back line as Hype is the target, and he's eliminated. Giu now looking for closer, whose health bar is very low. The flash forward, and that's going to secure it. And now Nongshim just wanting to clean up. Fisher moves down. He's got the orb. The Nefiri manages to pick up one of them, but 1v2, I just don't know whether he's going to be able to win this battle. Gideon's still chasing after him. When this dog gets some of these buttons back, I think he's still going to be pretty scary, but Gideon's going to move forward. I don't know about this one.
Oh, the fear?
Yeah, the fear just going to try and be avoided. There's the shockwave. That was still available? Okay, well, never mind. That is a dead doggo on the ground, and Nongshim fighting back.
Good fight coming out from Nongshim, and they realize their game plan. Kill Hype. It's that simple. This is how you open the fight. Lehen's a little bit in trouble, but gets a good ult, and then here, just kill the virus. This is how you should open every single fight. The shockwave wasn't even there. Fisher wasn't in position yet, but that taking out immediately that 80 carry went a long way. And then in this ensuing fight, Giu ends up a little bit overextended and in melee range of the Nefiri, which isn't ideal, but this duo of Gideon and Fisher, the Orianna supporting the Nocturne enough to take down the Nefiri.
Yep, you can see Fisher does get a bit of that blue stuff back, and their shockwave perfectly timed, so that after that untargetability wears off, the doggo just gets flung around and put in the ground. So, nicely done. And I don't think this is the end of the world. I actually thought that Polo played that really well. The reason why the shockwave was still available is because Fisher was just not allowed to be anywhere near the fight because of a great headbutt timing. And so being able to avoid having to deal with that, certainly a good thing. But Nongshim now, a bit of a battle for this this crab, and it's going to be won by the bros.
You know that big gold graph we were showing?
Yeah.
It's gone. It's gone. That lead is gone, right?
We flatlining now.
Yeah, requesting bro tax needed.
Yeah, we need way more bro tax.
Need imminent reinforcements for the bros.
Financial reinforcements for the bros.
Absolutely.
Because we know that, like, don't worry, we're scaling. Starting to become more and more real here for Nongshim.
Yeah, you know that lead that Morgan had, that substantial lead in the top lane? 100 gold now.
Yeah, Parlay pretty good at just getting accidental gold. And Kingan's also just slurping up minion wave after minion wave. This is what happens as, speaking of things that happen, feats of strength now collected for Nongshim. And it's going to be a Mountain Soul this game as well.
Ooh, I mean,
that is really bad for bro.
Yeah, if I'm playing Nefiri, LeBlanc.
Yeah, you better be killing all those dragons.
I don't want to be into a Mountain Soul, is all I'm saying.
And already Nongshim have stacked up 2. So one more and it's Soul Point and it's Mountain Soul as well. That'll be lights out. Bro really need to get an advantage and fast in this game.
Giu has got 2 items. He's
oh no! Hype presented himself on the map and he is now dead. Nongshim now looking for even more, as it is going to be the Rift Herald secured by LM. He collects the eye at the same time, but can he stay alive? That's the question. Killer Instinct from Giu is insane, but he's still able to survive. The depth charge flying forward. Good knock up there as LM utilizing that mobility to get himself around. 2-man pulverize here from Polo as Gideon. Fantastic use of the shield. The unbreakable will is there, but unfortunately the body will still break. Giu gonna collect that one. LM goes down as well, and Nongshim, oh no, we said the bros need to create leads, not Nongshim.
Oh man, I mean, the thing is, I think when you look at like the scrappiness of the fights and LM and Closer are trying, if they had an 80 carry, I think it could work, and it's not even Hype's fault.
Yeah, what is it? He literally, he was visible to Nongshim for 2 seconds, and he was dead.
He's so close to tower, it just doesn't matter. So he's dead, and then it's like, well, we're fighting 4v3. And even then, like, you see the Nefiri, you see the value, able to buy so much time, able to disengage from this, and then jumps into the brushes, and this re-engage, like, I feel like they're playing this pretty all right, and it seems to have potential, but the problem is, you're 3v4.
Yeah, and you have no consistent damage. because your AD carry's dead perma.
Imagine a Varus arrow
Yeah.
flying through that team fight, the difference it could have made. So yeah.
You know what the counterplay is for Hype?
Yeah.
Stay in base until Flash is up if you ever have to use Flash.
Oh my, you know, honestly, I think it might be a Zhonya's angle.
Oh, true.
Zhonya's Varus could
Well, you
be
need
it.
Edge of Night Zhonya's. That is what you're going to need to do.
Yeah, because here's the way I see it. You might think, well, then he will do no damage. You know when you do no damage?
When you're dead.
When you're dead. So,
I'm right there with you. I reckon that is going to be the answer. Maybe it's too little and perhaps it's too late, but it's still worth a try. As Fisher moving up towards his top side. Once again, we have Voracious Arakan. Not something that I don't think anyone's going to be trying just yet, but we will see. We're going to be taking down the Gromp. By the way, I went to the riot store. My parents came to Korea during our little break that we had, and I bought my nephew a little Gromp, and the Gromp toy is adorable. And this is not so much as Closer went in, and he tries to get out. Does have to use the flash, but is going to escape. And, oh, Void Seeker actually blocked by the clone.
like, this looks rough for Bro, but this might actually be a window, because these... Oh, can I barrage?
Oh, that was a cute
right?
one.
Closer has TP. If he TPs back in, they don't have these tools. Hype can play the game.
Well, he might be able to. We'll see whether the Arakan is going to be taken before that happens, though, because there's not a lot of vision. Teleport comes in. Oh my god, the AoE is absurd! Polu dead before anything even starts. And now they've got Arakan. Chains of Corruption flies in. Morgan trying to do what he can. Fish is still alive. He eventually does get recalled, but now Chiu's going completely ballistic. He will be sent back, but Kingin... He,
the getaway!
Yeah, he can't actually hit him because he's inside a Rift Herald that's running the wrong direction. And Closer just chains him up. Might be a bit of damage onto this turret, but that was very cute use of the disengaged Rift Herald.
Edge of Night, Zhonya's no. Just a Rift Herald in his pocket.
That's the best way to go on. That's stasis for way longer.
Yeah, unfortunately, only going to use that one once. Yeah, so bit of an unfortunate one. We can see these constant trades on a Fisher. Lehens is wise to it and does find the LeBlanc. Unfortunately, I think this play could have gone better if Bro were a little bit closer, but they took so long to contest this Arakan, but it was already gone by the time they got there. And that burst from the GP, this is the scaling we're talking about. Polo goes down quickly. At least Hype actually got to play the game. You actually see him pressing his buttons and not just immediately dying. Unfortunately, this Kais is very strong.
Oh my god, yeah.
But that getaway was so slick.
That was very, very cute. We're going to have a look at it again as he does manage to take down Hype. Take down Jiu and then straight into the Rift Herald. Save me, and he does.
Does a little plug him out.
Himself.
But doesn't save the game as of yet. Things still in a rough spot for Bro right now.
And there is a Mountain Drake that's up and available, but Nongshim look like they want to take an inhibitor turret first. There's the Paranoia. They find him one more time. Hit by the combo, gorgeously executed, but can they win the ensuing fight? That's the question, as Jiu is going to be obliterated. That's the cow going down as well. Lehens from the grave manages to land an anchor, and you can see Gideon knows that there's no way out. Kingin's there, though. Look at this guy. Trial by fire just sets Closer on fire, in fact. As now Gideon looking to try and escape. That is going to be Nefiri taking him down. And now the Pirate is a little bit in the wrong place, potentially at the wrong time. Eats some oranges correctly that time, but does have to recall. And now Bro might be able to take away a dragon.
They're really doing their best. You know, this is like when you're playing a game in solo queue and someone DCs and you're just really trying to play the 4v5 because Hype, I just feel sorry for him. What can he do? Nothing. There's just nothing you can do. And then the ensuing fight, Bro are like, right, let's see what we can. They've committed a lot of resources. LM gets on the backline, gets the reset, finds Fisher, isn't able to chase him down, but the Nefiri threat is so real. And Kingin, I feel like Kingin was just chasing targets this whole fight, but not really able to connect onto them until it was too late.
Morgan is a monster in this game, though.
He's been doing so much work.
But yeah, they do all die. There is the Mountain Drake being secured. We saw that picture-in-picture, so LM was able to take that one down. So Bro on the board, denying a Mountain, also absolutely fantastic. Because Nongshim, obviously, it's just time to start Baron.
Yep, why not? But Bro are coming to try and contest this.
Yeah, a lot of vision available here as Closer dives in. Gio almost just dead straight up. But the Baron is just taken. Level 16 now for Fisher as well. How about Pulp going to be avoided completely as Gideon dives in on top of Closer? Polo going to get a little bit scared. Jiu doesn't have flash, so he was dead. Fisher is also going to suffer the same fate because he also didn't have flash. And so keeping a few of these Barons alive is going to be Nongshim's best bet.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't work out that well for Nongshim because of the fact that you're in the pit and they use the ult to block the vision for the Baron, but then you can't do your critical strategy of killing Hype.
Yeah.
They try and look for closer. LeBlanc, not as easy just a one-shot as Avaris is, so...
Well, now it might be time to take their first turret of the game, unless Gideon decides that he wants to kill LM instead. He's pretty scary, but maybe not scary enough as LM just turns it around. Oh my god, the cannon barrage damage right on top of Hype. Closer also limping away from this one. Yeah, Kingen is relatively scary. Morgan is in the top lane though. He's already taken one of these turrets, and he's looking to get another. Let's have a look at this fight one more time. As Nongshim, they did manage to get what they were here for.
Yeah, I feel like it's not completely worth it, this trade. I mean, they still have the Baron buff, but you can see they end up going for closer here. Easy disengage there. And then both Fisher and Jiu are trapped in the pit with no summoners. Not the ideal position to be in, I think, to be honest. So I think Bro happy they were able to answer that one. Gold lead pretty close, still in favor of Nongshim, but you look at the Baron power play. Not feeling so powerful right now.
They took it off the map. Something.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm really glad we're seeing the Fury do things, because I feel like if people haven't really been watching the LPL,
well, Closer may not be able to do things here, as he does get the flash, does utilize his flash. So now he's going to try and go for some jukes. Let's see what's going to happen here. Wait, I've seen he might get shot with a pistol.
I've seen Civ HD pull this off.
Oh my god, that's a throwback. No, well, he didn't pull it off. He didn't pull it off. My god, Civ HD, really?
God, like 90% of the people watching don't even know who that is anymore.
Dude, I remember those plays, man. I can't even remember. That was when Flash went double the distance.
That's why he couldn't do it. That was a difference maker.
Yeah, that was a difference. And it was also like enough to blind everyone whenever you press the flash button. Oh,
good times. But yeah, you know, as I was saying before, I'm really glad that LM started to come back in this game because, you know, things were looking rough. It was looking like it may be a 0% win rate Neferi angle. And if people haven't been watching the LPL, maybe not playing so much solo queue, I feel like they'd be like, these guys said it was good.
The Rebel Baron power play was at like -1 for a second there. That was very, very cool.
Oh.
Currently, it's going to be almost a dead even Red Bull Baron power play situation here. And as this wave is eaten up, there we go, positive. 35 gold, 35 gold.
Lock it in. It was a win. It was a dub.
So worth.
If you're wondering.
And this might be not as worth, as LM is going to turn up and jump scare Kingen. Electing not to go for the 1v1.
Well, see, the reason he didn't go for it was because the Red Bull Baron power play had finished. And he was like, even if I get the kill,
what's the point?
It's done. It's a done deal.
It's fair enough.
That number, plus 35, has been immortalized as how much worth Nongshim's Baron was.
35 gold. I'd prefer a cannon. As Kingen does complete his boots too already, does have Collector, Sojourn, and his Triforce, so this gangplank is really getting frightening. Has an Executioner's Calling as well. Mortal Reminder will be coming in relatively soon as LM throwing out some daggers towards Lehens, but Lehens not going to be too worried about it. And Nongshim, okay, here it is, the combo once again, this time hitting onto 2. Both of the bottom lane members as Jiu, Killer Instinct indeed. And there goes the cow as well. Hype did that thing where he was on vision of the enemy team again.
Hype, you've got to stop existing every time. Oh, you know, I just think leaving the fountain might have been a mistake, if I'm being honest. And Nongshim, it feels personal, feels like bullying, it feels like a grudge, but they will take out the AD carry. They got Polu as well in the combo, so 2-for-1 special.
Is it just game over? That's the question. We've got both Nexus turrets, both under fire. Morgan, you're going to need to be the hero. The health bars are getting lower. As in goes LM Kingen, going to be his target, but he flashes away. He's surviving for the moment. Gideon flashes out as well. Fisher at full health, the double kill comes on through, make it a triple. As LM's going nuts, Fisher finds it, the clockwork wind up. And now it's his turn to get some multi-kills. There's a triple for the Orianna, and Polu, he's going to be enough of a gatekeeper to send Nongshim back. And they're going to have to try for it one more time. There are no more Nexus turrets, though. Let's have a look at whatever this is. Once again, oh yeah, this is sad times for the bot lane.
Oh, man. You know, they tried. You know, they used the sums, the disengage from Polo. It's like, I'll go down with my 80 carry. I think the correct call is just to let him die. There's nothing he can do for him. Nothing to prevent that. But this fight was, I mean, LM got so much value here. The low health bar is a lot of value. Dives in. And the bleed here ends up taking over to kill Kingen, but it takes so long and it's synced with Gideon kind of beautifully there. Stasis comes in, takes out the Kai'Sa. I mean, the Fury value is just absurd. It's still not quite enough to fully win the fight, but they keep their base alive, and that's the key thing.
Yep, and great lockdown there from Lahens at the end, making sure that the attack dissonance combo from Fisher is enough to kill Closer, because otherwise maybe the 2v2 could have been won if Polo has a few buttons available. Nongshim, though, now heading towards a fresh Baron. Let's see whether they can get more than 35 gold out of this one.
Yep, and if you're wondering, because obviously we always ask for you to contribute your bro tax, we don't always specify exactly why, but if you're wondering, it's a Save the 80 Carry Fund for Hype. Very specifically, this is what your bro tax will go towards. Help Hype out, because he's having a rough one right now.
And we might have another team fighters. Once again, Hype is dead. Oh no, never mind. He takes a little while longer to die this time. Fisher down to 50%. The hook is going to catch him out of the distortion. Gorgeous play there from Lahens once again as Geo Killer Instinct right on top of the Jax. Goes golden, avoids the counter-strike, and LM, it's only him and his top laner that are left alive. Nongshim looking for even more. A flash forward from Lahens, because why not? If the F button is available, you press it. And now Gideon and Fisher are done with this series. They're looking to take down this Nexus to start off their LCK season with a 2-0 against the Bros. There goes the Nexus. And Nongshim, brilliant start.
And look, in that game, 9 players got to play League of Legends.
Yep.
And 1 player got to play Free Screen Simulator.
Yep.
Right? Well, actually, it was 2 shades. The screen went black, and then it went gray.
I saw a great quote from Twitch chat, which was, Varus noob, nice position, so noob. And I can't help but say, yes, you were on vision for the enemy team, and that was a mistake.
Truly.
Whoever that was, it's a very silly thing
I think
to
the
say.
best insights do come from Twitch chat. Yeah, I mean, it kind of went how we expected, that Varus would have a rough time. But I think they gave it a good college try. I think ultimately we saw the Neferi power. LM, I think even though, you know, game 1 was a bit rough, he had a good performance there. Was it enough? No. Nongshim are a hard opponent to go against, but I think you can feel a bit of confidence towards he can at least pop off a Neferi, and maybe if they have an 80 carry, he doesn't die immediately every fight.
It wasn't Hype's fault, of course. Like it's a product of the compositions. I do want to say that Gideon and Fisher played it beautifully. We saw that sometimes the combo isn't that easy. When we were watching First Stand earlier on. So beautifully executed. I mean, every single time they hit him with the Paranoia Shockwave. It happened every time.
Yeah, it was painful. And I feel like if there's the 80 carry mains watching, they will feel the hype.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun to be in that position. The Varus first pick backfiring pretty heavily, and I'm just not sure there was anything they could do to save him. You know, I just think that's just how the cookie crumbles.
It is. The beautiful thing about today is that we get a look in at what our Saturday showdown may look like. And right now, Bro on the back foot moving into their match against BNK. BNK are up against DK coming up after the next break. And
DK are watching this and they're like, write that down, write that down.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Oriana, just kill the 80 carry.
I reckon Ori Varus, Ori Nocturne is going to be the way that we're going to take them down this time around. I'm agreeing that if you can get your ducks in a row, that certainly could be a way to make it happen.
And right now, Neferi
0-2.
0-2. But I hope this game really demonstrated this champion is pretty cracked, but you do need an 80 carry, at least most of the game to win.
Yeah. I also think that Nongshim, like, this is a lot of comfort for them as well. We know Kingin, a fantastic Gangplank player. The Nocturne Orianna combo is so good. They have so much late game insurance with this. The follow-up from the Kaiser as well from Jiu, one of his better champions at the same time.
Do you know what's almost the most insulting thing is the fact that the Nocturnal removes the edge of night.
Yeah.
I think that kind of bothers me the most, you know? Like, it's I feel like you kind of have to build it, because it's like, you know, it's a damage item that also gives you that utility, but it doesn't do anything, you know? Maybe Zhonya's was the play.
Unfortunately, if you build a Zhonya's, then you have definitely no damage, so then if you even do survive...
you can press ult, you know?
True, utility barriers.
Oh, man.
Like we were saying, not a lot of great options for Hype, and as you can see there, it resulted in him doing not very much damage at all. LM demonstrating that the Nefiri is pretty strong, and Morgan having a great game on the Jax, at least in the early stages, completely outshone by the solo lanes of Nongshim in the later stages of the game. Sometimes that guy in chat saying, "Don't worry, we scale," was right.
Yep. That was the strategy, and it worked. You know, the hyping up the team, being like, guys, let's just outscale. And unfortunately, well, they've actually used a lot of their ban budget for Fearless. That code didn't work.
It didn't. And so now the question is, player of the match. And I'm thinking that Lehens had some amazing hooks, and then he played Suicide Elise, and that was pretty cool.
Well, of course you're in for that.
Yeah.
You know, I think both jungle support good mentions. You know, I think
Gideon had a good day.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for me, Kingin kind of struggled in lane in game 2, and Fisher struggled in lane game 1. But I think ultimately jungle support were the two highlights for me, and how they played the map.
I think Gio also was pretty consistent throughout this one. I don't know whether he was necessarily main character in either of the games, but I think we'll pick up some casual votes on the Korean side. I think that there will be some hipsters that are like, no, Gio was there. He was doing the things that he was supposed to do. And now we're going to get an idea as to who it's going to be. There's been a change in music. That means player of the match is ready. And it's not quite there just yet. We're having a look at the votes, as we can see here. And Gideon, we are just tied up. And so it is going to, so Gideon won by 1 point.
Very close though, you know, 7 out of 13 just over the line. Both of the fan votes going towards Lehens. I don't think it's a bad vote, but they're kind of on a bit of a losing streak right now. On those
honestly, they were robbed though. Lehens definitely deserved it. It is time though now for the interview with Gideon that should be with Lehens.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Seer for the POM interview translation, joined by Gideon on the side of Nongshim Red Force. Congratulations! Thank you. With your victory over OK Savings Bank Brion, you have taken your first win of 2025 regular season. How do you feel? You know, for us to reach the high grounds, we knew that it would be so crucial to win the first match. So I'm very glad that we're able to accomplish that. Let's talk about Game 1. The Gwen-Sejuani synergy really stood out. And the Gwen-Sejuani Yone topside turned out great. So how did you guys prepare for this? So we have really good Gwen Yone players, and just completing the comp with Sejuani made sense for us. That's why I went for that. And in Game 1, you focused down the enemy Jace. And lately, compared to previous seasons, junglers have been investing more time on top than bot. So is that just what the current meta is? I'm not too sure. I think it's just that I saw an angle to gank top lane, so I think it's just then and there when I get to make that decision. And in Game 2, you countered with Nocturne, so what was the reasoning? So Nefiri
그러니까 카운터라기보다
is
잘 모르겠네요. 근데 나필 상대로
I can't really say that it's a counter pick as a Nocturne. But I feel like there are really good counters to Naafiri, like tank champions. And I think, yeah, I think we were able to get some good draft in today. And it looks like Nongshim Red Force locked in with the rush comp in both games 1 and 2. So do you think this style suits Nongshim well? Yeah, I think Nongshim, because we're so spicy, I think this is the type of comp that we definitely pull off very well. And both teams had such a flashy walkout performance. And your next opponent will be DN Freaks. What is your resolution? I want to make sure that we work even harder to make sure that we continue the winning streak. Thank you so much for your support. And that's the end of the interview with Gideon, and back to the space. Thank you.